Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Roth. I am an Italian style team member and brand ambassador for Framesi North America. I am super excited to be here today with Cosmoprof for the Iconic Blonde Showcase. This is so much fun. It's my favorite thing to do is teach and to go live. And I'm gonna bring you guys something a little bit different today. We're gonna do a couple different things. I am going to show you a technique on a mannequin that I used to create the blonde on Miss Rachel, my model here. I'm also gonna show you placement and how to create blonding that is not only innovative, it is safe. And these techniques will help you so much behind the chair. So we're just gonna go ahead and jump right in and get started. For Rachel today, she started at a natural level 6 and she did have a few blonde highlights. They were finer, more weaved, and they were pretty grown out. So I believe we're gonna be putting a photo up for you to see what she looked like beforehand. And I have not toned her yet. All I have done is the blonding portion so I can actually show you guys live our new toning product. So this is a liquid color gloss and it's called 5D. It is awesome and I love it, and we're gonna just jump right in and go right on over to the sink and start working. When we're talking about blonding in general, there are certain things that I like to make sure that we're doing. One, I wanna make sure that we are processing that hair properly. Usually time, right? Time is our issue. A lot of the time we wanna get these things done faster, right? But we also want to maintain the integrity and the health of that hair. So this is where some of these products and techniques come into play for us. And I'm super, super excited that I get to come here and show you guys. All right. So as you can see, we are at the sink. Her highlights are done and I am going to tone her right here. We are using Framesi's new toning product and it is called 5D. This is a liquid color gloss. This is a zero lift, vegan, gluten-free, ammonia-free, PPD-free, and RESORCINOL-free product. It is quick and super easy to use, and it is what I love the most. First thing I'm gonna do is wet her down. Now you can use this product wet or dry, but usually when I'm highlighting, I'm bringing her to the chair, and then I'm bringing her to the bowl, and I am toning this product when she's at the sink. So I usually just towel dry it just a little bit, and then I go ahead and get started. The thing that I really like about this product is that it is an even deposit from root to end, and it is true to swatch. It is so shiny and it smells amazing. It does not build up on the hair, and it is really, really easy to use. So today I'm going to be using two colors. We're going to be using 9V, and we are going to be using 10PG. Now, when I mix this product, especially when I'm using more than one color, I like to make sure that I put the color in first so that I can see how much I'm using. So we are going to be doing 3/4 of the formula as 9V and 1/4 of the formula as 10PG. This mix ratio is 1:1. And we are going to be using the 5D Color Gloss Activator, and it is a 5 volume. Now I'm just going to put my gloves on really quick, and then we are going to get going. I always get yelled at because I forget to put the gloves on, and then I mess up my pretty nails. A lot of people always ask me when I use this, what does 5D mean? What is 5D? And it is 5 dimensions of brightness is how we like to explain it. You are going to get healthier hair overall. You're going to get brightness, protection, hydration, and hair repair all at the same time. And we just shake this bad boy up and get started. Usually when I'm toning, I like to make sure that I take about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch with my sections, and I move away from the face. That way nothing ever gets on the client. But you're gonna see how easy it is to apply. Usually I go around the hairline first, and then I just start in the back and the bottom and pull that product through. What I love is how fast it is, how easy it is to apply, and you can get everything through in a really quick and easy manner, and you don't have to worry about saturation issues and things like that. This product moves so quickly and so easily through the hair. Now, a lot of people ask me, can you do it on dry hair? Yes, you can. You can use this on dry hair, no problem. But like I said, most of the time, this is my quick and easy way to get beautiful toning results fast. Once I have everything covered the way that I like it, I usually just separate her down the center and I just double check one more time. I use vertical sections, open her up, and just make sure that I've got everything covered. How you doing in there, Rachel? You okay?
Doing great.
Perfect. And does this bother you at all, the smell? Can you smell it even at all?
Not
What does
really.
it smell like? Does it smell good?
It does smell good.
Mm-hmm.
Nice and fresh.
Yeah, it doesn't have an overpowering smell at all. It just smells really nice. It kind of gives them a little bit of a relaxing feel. You know, I hate it when the smells of products are super overpowering. All of this stuff just smells amazing, and that's what I love about it. It also does not suds up. You can see as I'm pulling it through, I'm manipulating this hair a lot, and it does not suds up. Now that we are finished applying, I'm gonna go ahead and have you sit up. And she's going to process for about 10 minutes. I'm gonna have Joni, my assistant, take her and process her and get her blown out so you guys can see the results, and we will come back to Rachel later. We are gonna go back over and start working on our techniques. Now, I get asked this question all the time when I'm doing different techniques, and it's how do you create lived-in color, but also be able to give them the brightness without over lightening the hair. And this is something that I feel like people struggle with the most, is leaving that depth. And so this sectioning that we're going to be using is actually going to show you how to do that, how to create depth with their natural, but also give them brightness. You need to have dark to make those light colors pop. And that's kind of what I wanted to show you guys today. I am using DECOLOR B Diamond. When I'm doing more lived-in looks, I like a thicker consistency, and I like to mix that product with a brush, not a whisk, so that I get a nice, pretty cake batter consistency. So I'm gonna move this over here so that everybody can see me well enough. And what I wanna talk about really quick is sectioning. So when we're looking at her for her sectioning, there's a few things that we're gonna be looking at. The first thing I always do is check their frontal fringe flat area. This is going to be where you're going to see how their fringe works, what their part line is like, what their hairline is like. These things are super important when you're sectioning. Everybody always has a thicker side and a finer side. Even Deborah has one. And those things need to be accounted for when you are sectioning out that hair. So usually that sectioning is going to go from that frontal fringe flat area, and it's going to travel. Now, it's going to travel around the head, through the parietal ridge section underneath, and down to underneath the occipital bone. This is going to be where all that brightness comes from, and it's super important that we remember that. I'm going to take this section out down here so that you can see. This is what always is coming out from underneath, that you're seeing that brightness. In all of those photos, the brightness is coming from here. This also is what they are pulling up over their heads for ponytails and things like that. These ponytail sections are what I call these, and they connect to those front pieces. So essentially, if you're looking at it from that frontal fringe flat all the way around to the back of the occipital bone, you are actually going to be creating a super fast partial foil. So this is all of that hair that they see. When you pull this hair up, this is what goes in their ponytails. Does that make sense? I'm all about working smarter, not harder, you guys. So that's what we're gonna work on first. I'm gonna go ahead and clip that away again so that she stays out of my way. And I'm gonna show you how I lighten in these sections. Usually what I do, I tilt them forward, I split them down the center, and I work on diagonal back sections all the way up the head. The first one is the most important. Now, I am not gonna do the entire mannequin, okay? I'm just going to show you the placement of few foils in each section so that you guys can actually see all of them. This look that I'm showing you now is what we have done on our model Rachel. So you're going to get to see how I got there, what she looked like before we toned, and at the end of this, you're going to be able to see what she looks like finished. I wanted to maximize all of your hour. I like a brush that has feathered bristles on it just because it makes that blend a lot softer. The first section that I take is usually a weave on top. Right at that hairline. And I clip it away. And I'm going to do my first section in what's left out. So what we're gonna do is we're going to tease this one. The first one is always a tease. I want it blended when she pulls it up, and I usually slice behind. So everything for me with blending, when we're talking about blended roots and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be a teased foil and then 2 to 3 slices and then another teased foil. The slices are always sandwiched. This way we get a maximum amount of blend. Depending on how far down you tease is going to depend on how far down your root becomes. So to get these foils really close, and I know you guys are gonna watch me and you're gonna freak out, I fold my foils backwards, okay? Yes, I do not put the flap in the back, and that's okay if you do it that way or you don't. I know people have their opinions, but this is just how I work. If you are someone that folds their foil forward like this and you want to avoid that slipping, you need to make sure that this section gets pushed over directed away from you so that you can get that foil nice and tight underneath. If you need to use a board, that's okay too. I put a little bit of product to lock it in the center. And then I go ahead and apply. Now, when I am doing a full application where there is no color on this hair at all, I am not going to fold this up into a little teeny tiny foil packet. I am going to slightly feather into that tease, make sure that this is fully saturated. And I am going to take a foil and lay it right on top. Close it up. And then move on to the next one. I leave the tease out. You can see all of these little hairs here, and I just kind of move them to the side and then continue with my application. The next foil right behind it is that slice. And these slices are small, okay? This is like about 1/4 of an inch thick. And depending on how many slices you put in this area is going to depend on the impact that that brightness is going to have. Again, make sure we are over directing and then laying that hair right there. If you are going to do any kind of shadow rooting, I always make sure to tell people, leave just a little bit of space for that root to go. I have had people ask me in the past, what happens if you don't do that? Well, have you ever used a demi-permanent hair color that's supposed to be 0 lift, but then you feel like you've gotten warmth at the base? If you really look, 9 times out of 10, what you're seeing is the fact that you have got highlights that are too close to the root and you didn't let your root shadow or root tap process long enough. And what happened is that highlight becomes warm. So it's always really important to make sure, leave that little bit of space. Now for our model Rachel, I did 2 slices. This section becomes large when you start getting into that occipital area. And so what I usually do is I will now break that up again into 2 sections because this section is too wide. So I'm going to take my slice and break it in half. Now you have two choices here. You can either, if you want more depth, you can leave this out. If you want a brighter impact, instead of slicing from the top of this subsection, slice from right underneath. And this is where that highlight is going to go. So for Rachel, what we did is maximum brightness, and I sliced her all the way through this section and ended with a teasy light. So that's what I'm gonna do right here. So we're just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to just carry it over. Because what you don't want to happen is a hollow spot in the middle. This is going to be a tease. And the thing about teasing is I try to think about it like the air touch technique. Anybody that's ever seen that, you know how we're blowing those smaller hairs out of the way and then only coloring those lengths. The hair that they clip away is going to become your dimension. So when we're doing this, we are looking for that same thing. And I do this all the time, is there's a right way I feel like to tease and a more, I won't say a wrong way, just a less effective way to get what you want. I want this to be more consistent. And because I want it to be more consistent, I want my teasing to be the same every time. So I'm going to angle my comb, okay, towards me. And I'm going to find those little hairs. I'm looking for these little hairs here. And I'm going to push those forward, up into the base. Depending on how much hair you want left out is how much you're going to tease those. So I'm going to push those smaller hairs up forward, okay? And then I take those hairs and I comb them out so that I have that separation, okay? Go away here. There's the tease separation, okay? And I'm just going to clip that away. And I'm only going to paint this section right here. Again, I just make sure I get that product there. Now, if you want to use a board, you totally can. Boards are fine. I like a board. But today I just decided not to use one. You feather up into that teased area. Make sure to fully saturate with product. Close her up. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and move into the next section so that you can see what comes next. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of this and move it out of the way so we don't get confused. Oh, do we have a question?
Yeah. Do you always tease the hair when highlighting?
Do I always tease the hair when highlighting? No. Do I only tease the hair when highlighting? The answer is no. It just depends on the look that I'm going for and what I'm trying to achieve. When I'm doing a full blonde transformation, I'm usually not. It's usually a combination of baby lights, slices, microfoils, things like that. When I'm creating more lived-in looks, I do like to tease, and especially if I want something that's more diffused, I'm going to do that sandwich technique that I'm talking about, where the very first section is going to be teased, then I'm going to do the slices in the center, and that top section is going to be teased, so that you get that brightness but also diffusion. Does that make sense? It just depends on what you want. Now, this next section that I bring down is super important. I call this the depth pocket. I'm gonna pick her up because I want you to really see where this is coming from. So when you're looking, this is coming from her parietal ridge area, and it's going to travel right under her like center juncture, back of the head, to just above the occipital bone and back up. This is your depth pocket, okay? This is where we sometimes tend to over lighten. When we are trying to leave depth, this is what's going to move through that middle section and make those brighter blonde areas that we've just done pop out more, okay? You can do one of two things with this section here. You can leave this alone and do nothing and give her more of a lived-in brunette look. Or let's say she has some highlights existing already like Rachel did, and what I did in this section is I actually did, I took one subsection on each side. So each side essentially had two sections, and I did more of a teasy light, and then I hand painted and did more of a tip out technique so that she got brightness but still got that rooted diffusion, if that makes sense. So it's totally up to you, but if you want to leave depth, this is where you want that depth to live, okay? So for her, I'm going to show you what I did on Rachel. I followed my sectioning. Everything that I do, obviously, you can see that they are diagonal, but if you really look, they are curved. I'm going with the head shape. And I like to do this a lot because this, to me, creates softness. It's gonna make that hair look smoother, in my opinion. You're going to get less lines this way and less, you know, a little bit more of a blended end result. Okay. So with that first section, I'm gonna do just what we showed you before, and I'm going to tease first. It's really important when you're painting and teasing that you hold that section really tight. Go away. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and push those little hairs up. Now this is a bigger section, so you're probably gonna be able to see this a little bit better. I have pushed all those hairs up and out. This is your depth, okay? This is your, we don't touch this. And I just clip that section away. And this is what I paint. I'm gonna use a paintbrush. I like to use the back of my hand. Do I have a towel? Oh, I do have towels down here. Good, because I'm messy. So we're kind of using a combination of two techniques. We've got the teasy light thing happening, but also a hand-painted, more of a balayage-like technique for the lifting. Now, because I start in the back, look at that, magic bleach appeared again. Ha, magic lightener. So, because we're starting in the back and in the underneath, there's a couple things that this does for us. One, I always start with lower volumes because it's going to be processing for the longest amount of time. This allows me to process safely and efficiently, and if I do have to take some foils out as we're going, it's very easy for me to do because they are in the back. And usually, each section is also my roadmap for when I'm going to be mixing more product. Your lightener usually is the most powerful when we are in that first 25 to 30 minutes, and then it starts to slow down. It continues to work, but goes slower. So I want to make sure I have the same amount of strength with every section. So I remix my lightener per section, which means that I'm only mixing enough lightener for each section that I am in. So after I get my hands clean, I'm going to take a foil. I'm going to set it right underneath. Add just a little bit more product to stick it down. Saturation again is key. Blend up. And put her down. I always fold the ends in so that it just kind of stays in place. And then I just let this down. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and move into the top. When we are in this top section, you have multiple things going on. If you look and you start to move this around, you can see where her hair naturally wants to fall. So again, this is going to depend on what your end result is. What is your desired end result? Do you want brightness? Do you want brightness and softness at the root, or do they want these highlights all the way up to the root? If they are wanting a more blonde effect where they are very bright at the root all the way to the end, I am still working on this diagonal, but she's going to get a lot of slicing and then teasing at the top to diffuse. Or if she wants those blonde highlights to go all the way to the root, it will be a lot of weaving. For my model, I did a combination of both because she did have blonde already existing in her hair. So I had to pick out some blonde pieces, and we just want to make sure that we're always keeping the integrity of the hair intact. One thing I do want to talk about though is a product that I use when I'm lightening called ProForce. It is a really, really good product for strength and hydration, and it also protects the hair while you are doing your lightening service. Now, what is interesting about ProForce is that you can use this in your lightener and in your color, but it is going to do something else for you that I think is really cool, and it will actually render the minerals that are in the hair inactive without using any other kind of processing time. So what does that mean? What that means is when you are lightening and there are minerals present in the hair, sometimes there are reactions. What this product will do for you is just stop those reactions from happening. Make sense? But you can use this with any color line you like. It is compatible with all color lines. You could use this with any lightener. And one of the main ingredients that helps this product do this is hyaluronic acid. This is going to give you an enhanced restructuring effect. And it is really, really good for standalone treatments on like really, really compromised hair. So I'm adding my product and then I'm going to softly feather up to the root. Now this was a majority of what we did in the middle for my model to give her those really, really bright pops of color. And then we did actually, when we were finished, I did a wet balayage and tipped out her ends. Now the reason why I don't put her ends in the lightener when I'm doing this step was because she already was lighter mostly throughout the bottom, and I don't want to overlap for too long and cause unnecessary damage or possible breakage in the future. So this just ensures that that does not happen. So again, we did our slice. Now this top section right on top of it is going to be teased, because the point for our model today was that she has a darker root and wants it to be lived in, but she wanted that really bright effect. But also something that she didn't have to come back in every, 6 weeks to keep up. So just make sure we push those little hairs out of the way. The other thing about teasing this way that I like is that your comb outs are so much easier. You don't have to take 40 minutes at the sink to comb all of this teasing out. It is so much easier. So I've just pulled all that hair up here, and I just want to show you. I'm going to bring down the tease section that I had, and I'm just going to use this very fine-toothed comb on a Deborah mannequin, mind you, and it comes right out like it never happened. So this is one of my favorite ways to tease. Tease with a purpose, people. We're not trying to tease our great Aunt Ida's set for the week. We're trying to diffuse hair. You know what I mean? Again, same thing. Apply your product in the center. Usually about, I would say, maybe 2 inches from where you want to start feathering is where I apply the product, so that I have enough room and so that I don't oversaturate too high. So now that I'm done putting the product in, I just softly feather up to the teased area, not right into it. Now, this happens actually pretty often. You see sometimes like hair will get caught in that. Just move it out of the way with your fingers and just pull that lightener through those sections, and it won't leave a funky spot or a demarcation in your color. Make sure to close in those sides. And just for, I know that I said this before, but I want to say it again. The reason why I leave the foils flat when I am doing this much color is because I want to make sure that it processes evenly. So when we're talking about processing the lightener, sometimes when we fold them up into those teeny tiny packets, what will end up happening is that when you open them back up again, you could get demarcation lines in your lift. So maybe that center point where it was folded, it kind of creased in the middle, and you can have warm areas that you don't want. So this is a really effective way to make sure that those foils process evenly, but also it's so easy if you need to reapply to just open and peel this guy back and resaturate. Then just fold it back up and close it back up. Whereas sometimes when we're opening those smaller packets of foils and trying to reapply, they can shift, they can move around. But once you set this in like this, it's really, really easy to keep it in place. So it actually helps a lot with bleeding. If you're a newer stylist and you're folding, that little flat backwards is like your security blanket. These straight foils, when I'm trying to saturate from root to end, is also a security blanket. It makes sure that you get even lift, even processing, and also it keeps it up at the root area. When we get into the crown, this is usually where I start weaving and then teasing, because remember, we're keeping that same pattern that we had before. The first one is going to be a tease. Even though I'm weaving instead of slicing, I'm still going to tease it because I'm just keeping that pattern the same. Now, it is also okay if their ends are already light, just fold them up like you normally would and leave the blonde ends out of the foil. If you notice, the front of this section connects to her frontal fringe flat area. This is usually where I want softness and continue with the weaves and the teasing, because this is where I want the impact to be. This is where she's going to be the brightest, okay? So when we get to the hairline, there are a few things that I'm looking at. I'm looking at how much density she has around the front. I personally do not highlight the hair that's right up against their face. And the reason why I don't do that is because around the hairline, they are the softest. It is the most fine. And when you do it here, it might be perfect and beautiful, but once they go home and start blow drying and flat ironing and pulling and touching, you are going to have breakage there. So I like to give them a little bit of a barrier. So it's going to give a softer effect for them grow out wise anyway. And what I'll do is I will go around their hairline. Now Deborah's a little bit of a, pain in the neck, but you're gonna be able to see what I mean. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go around her hairline, and on a client in the chair, I can usually weave that out myself, but on a mannequin, if you're practicing this technique, I just take tiny weaves until I get that small see-through section. Okay? Once I have that small see-through section, push her away from you a little bit. Gosh, I'm so rough. Okay. I weave closer to the middle, not right up against the head. Come on, Deborah, work with me. Again, like I said, on an actual person, this is much easier. But this fine section is what I leave out. And I am going to foil this one. So I leave this out and foil here. This way, she's gonna have slices back to back, and then this is going to kind of cover and blend. Yes, question?
Jocelyn in the chat asked, as in the crown, are they still diagonal sections on top of the head?
That's a really good question, Jocelyn. So as we get into the crown, they actually are still on a diagonal, but that diagonal is going to be softer because I'm working with their head shape. So really it's about how the curvature of their head is. So as you get into this top area, let me see if I can pick her up and I will turn her so you can see. As you get into that crown area, okay, you can see that she's still kind of rounded. It's not straight. But as you get into the top, it does tend to straighten out almost on its own. Does that make sense? So your section is still diagonal, but it's going to soften as you get into the crown just naturally by the round of the head. Do you know what I mean? I hope that helped. So back to the front. When you want to create a money piece, for example, a lot of the looks that I see now, we aren't really seeing a lot of that really strong stripe right here unless we're talking about like a color block situation. We don't want, when they pull their hair up into a ponytail after 2 weeks, to see regrowth right there like that, a root line. I prefer it to be softer, and that's just my opinion. So what I do is that same thing. That section is going to be so, so fine. You can leave some hair out around the hairline, about like this, and honestly even a little less than that. But like I said, it's a little harder to see on the mannequin. When Rachel comes back, I'm actually going to show you on her so you can see it in real time. But this is the section that I usually leave out, and I'm gonna put that foil right here. And then I will continue to slice back to back in this area to give her the impact that she wants. And that last section becomes the tease. So you get impact and then you get diffusion. So if she wants something even softer than that, I will take this whole section and tease here. Take those hairs out of the way. And we're gonna paint this. Now, my model's hairline was a lot softer than this, and the density was not as heavy. So we actually did a little bit more of that weaving technique to keep those smaller baby hairs in better condition, but also give her blend, because her blonde is high contrast in comparison to her natural, but we left her some really pretty dimension so that the grow out's going to be super, super soft. Now, a lot of people ask me too, what do you do when you have these foils straight like this and they're in the client's face? Well, that's very easy. Once I'm finished applying, I just pick them up, put a clip in, and let her process like normal. I think that Rachel is back. Are you guys ready to see the finished product of the model? Okay, this is our finished product. It's nice, it's bright, it's soft. So just so that you can see, I wanted to show you her hairline because I think this is really important. If you look around her face, you're going to see a couple things. One, you can see that she's a little bit more fine here and soft. Okay, so if you notice these little guys right here, I did not lighten. I did not lighten these on purpose, okay? Because they are tiny, they are trying to live their best life and grow, and we want to give them a chance to live long and prosper. Her highlights start right after that, okay? And I did use a softer weaved pattern and then sliced back to back and then finished her section with a tease. And you can see that here because those smaller bits are there left for dimension and depth. Does that kind of make sense now, what we were talking about? You can see that brightness pop through, and then that top section is softly teased so that she gets that bit of depth and pop. And it just makes her roots, even though her blonde is very, very bright, it makes it look soft. And that's the point for this look, okay? So I thought it would be fun to show you a technique that I love to do. And we're gonna use some of my favorite products. I am going to show you how to get volume at the hairline using Color Lover Hair Repair Foam. One pump is plenty. I move it in between my hands and I'm just going to softly put this in the root. Yes, her hair is dry, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is get a towel to wipe off my hands. Is take my brush and take my blow dryer, and I'm going to dry this hair up and back. Now, I'm going to be doing this just at the root to give her a little bit of lift. And it also kind of helps to push that hair up and off the face. So she likes to side part, you know, and it's not gonna drop down into her face. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to create a blowout in record time without having to use rollers or brushes and clips. I lovingly refer to it as a faux out. It's a faux blowout. It is so much fun. I'm going to turn you if that's okay. For just a minute, and then I'm going to turn you back so that they can see. Okay. So I'm going to take my flat iron. I really like this flat iron for this because it's hot on both sides. And you're going to take your brush. Use your brush for support and then turn the hair in the brush. Roll it up. Let it sit for just a few seconds to cool. And let it out. Now what we're creating is that voluminous kind of bouncy blow dry. What I like about this is that it's quick. Let it sit for just a couple minutes. And then I kind of just twist the brush a little bit so you get a little bit of movement. I'm gonna have you turn just a little bit. And keep going with that same technique all the way around the head. So when we're looking at the hair now, what I think is the most prevalent to me is how shiny it is. For a blonde to be this shiny, I feel like is really, really great, and it's super important. We get tonality that's very, very beautiful, but we also get shine. It's not matte, It's not flat. It is just pretty, bright, light, beautiful hair color. It's so easy to brush through too. I mean, the manageability is like crazy good. And her hair just looks healthy. And I'll be real honest, I really was using a lot of cream demi-permanent before 5D. This 5D literally changed the way I do color. The way that it moves through the hair, the way that the light reflects when you use it, and just the way it makes the hair feel. I'll never not use it ever again. It's so pretty. So I let the hair just sit in its position that I leave it in until I'm ready to style. And so after I get all of the hair set, I am going to use the Design Fix and Flex hairspray to kind of set that style and give her some body. What I really like about that spray is how lightweight it is, but also it has more of a drier finish than a wet finish. And I think that for styling, that is a preferred consistency for me because you can get that volume and texture, but the hair moves. And it also doesn't smell like a hairspray. It smells so good. The consistent thing that I've said today is that all of these products just smell incredible. So every time I put on something new, they're always like, what is that? What did you do? What is that? So spin to the front for me. So that is how you create the faux blowout. She looks bright, she looks light, she's airy. And I think that that's just something that's super important when we're in salon and we're styling and things like that. This is, you know, a super fast way to create a really beautiful style without having to take up a whole bunch of time. So if you're busy and you're in a rush, you know, this is a really great way. This is a really great way to do that. What I do want to talk about for just a couple of minutes is client consultations, because I do think that they are super, super important, especially when we're creating blonde looks behind the chair. You are at the point where people are bringing you in inspirational photos from everywhere. And now we have AI that has jumped into the mix, and it's changing the way people are looking at hair color and what they're seeing on themselves. So we need to make sure that as artists, we are able to differentiate between what is achievable and what is not. So there are a few specific questions that I ask when I'm doing this. And when they bring me a photograph, I like to ask them, what is it about this picture that you don't like? Not what do you like, what do you not like? What do you not want in here? And so when we're asking that question, it's what do you not like? And they'll go, oh, well, I don't really like how short that hair is. I don't really like how, you know, how warm that is. I want it to be cooler. I want there to be more, you know, more highlight. I don't want all of my ends dark. Like, these are all things that I like to check on, because I think it's really important for them to really see and look at what they have and what they want. Now, when we're doing this, there are a few things that I like to make sure that we have. Does that color look good on their complexion? Is that going to complement them in a way that is going to suit them? Or do they just like the girl in the photo? Because there are a lot of things that you can do, but you're not a plastic surgeon. You can't change their face. You want to accentuate their face, highlight their face, and give them the best version of themselves. So be honest. Don't be mean to them, but be honest. Tell them the truth. Give them your opinion. That's why they come to you. And make sure you have an opinion. You know? It's really important. So like with Rachel, for example, she wanted something bright and light and she was ready to go and be super, super blonde. Because she has darker eyebrows and she has, you know, darker features and things like that, I wanted to make sure that her blonde was pretty and soft and buttery and brightened up her face. If we would have went too cool with her tones, she would have looked drawn and washed out. This is a nice, buttery, really, really pretty soft blonde that actually complements her face. We are using her natural that she has and given her something that is going to be easier for her to maintain long term, because I don't live in Pittsburgh. But it's important to make sure that we are doing that. It's important to make sure that we are honest with our clients, that we tell them how long it's gonna take, that we're charging the right amounts of money, because this is not a basic blonde foil. This is not a basic technique. This technique took 6 hours yesterday. We worked on her for 6 hours to get her this light and bright and blonde, and also to maintain the integrity of their hair, which is what the most important thing is. So I will talk about that formula for just a minute, because I think this is a little fun fact that people forget. So I used 9V and 10PG. When you're using these colors, you'll look and there's also numbers there. So the 9V, okay, is a 9 violet. It is a 9.6, okay? And then if you look at that 10PG, that is a 10.31. So we have a level 10 gold and green, okay? And then you have a level 9 violet. What is violet? It is blue and it is red. A lot of people ask, if you're using ashier tones and you don't want to see that green base, you're going to want to try to use a formula that's going to help you counteract that. So I wanted something bright but also cool. By putting the violet and putting the PG in there, you are going to get a little bit of, almost like it's going to cut that red pigment just a bit and kind of neutralize it. So you keep warmth but also get that coolness. We're going to open up the floor to questions. Are you ready? Let's go.
Does FRAMCOLOR Eclectic 5D Color Gloss benefit only blonde hair?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is actually a clear in there, and I use it all the time. It is a really, really great gloss for shine enhancement and reparative qualities, and it's really, really good to use for that. Also, if you have clients that are dimensional brunettes, and you want to just kind of soften them a little bit, you can always use these. We've got different shades in this line that will do that for you. That's a good question. What else you got? Hit me. I like question time. Question time is fun.
What does 5D stand for again?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so 5D is about the 5 dimensions of color. That's how we like to talk about it. And basically we're talking about brightness. We're talking about hydration. We're talking about protection, hair repair, and the overall health of the hair in general. So you're going to get all of that every time you use the 5D. What else?
How many shades are there? And I saw you mix them earlier, but how intermixable are they?
How many shades are there and how intermixable are they? So there are 14 shades right now. They are all level 9s and 10s, and they are very intermixable. You can intermix these however you like. Just like I was talking about before with the 9V and the 10PG, you just want to make sure that you're remembering your formulation basics so that you know what you're actually putting into your bottle. That's a good one.
Why is there a range of 5 to 20 minute processing time?
Why is there a range of 5 to 20 minute processing time? So that's just going to depend on what results you're trying to achieve. So when we're talking about flash toning, that's going to be those 5, that's going to be in your 5 to 7 minutes. About 10 minutes is what we did today. And then when you get up to 20 minutes, that's like your full processing time where you're going to get the most deposit and the most pigment weight.
Are the shades true to tone?
Yes, they are true to tone, and they do not build up in the hair as well.
Do you find yourself adding clears to your formulas?
Honestly, no. I don't add clear to my formulas because the ratios are actually great just the way they are. I don't need the clear. They're very true to tone. If I'm adding clear to a formula, it's honestly, if I have a 9 and I needed a 10 and I don't have any more 10, then I add clear. But these don't need it. I use the clear the most for glosses. I do them on so many of my clients just for that brightness, you know, and that shine. That's really, I use clear all the time for that. And I use it almost every day.
And are the shades easy to lift from the hair?
Yes. That is actually a really great question. The shades are very easy to lift from the hair, and you really don't need to worry about that. They come right out and they're super soft. I am just so happy that you guys came and sat in my class today. Thank you so much to Framesi and to Cosmoprof for letting me come on the Iconic Blonde class today to talk to you guys. This was so much fun. If you have any questions, you can follow Framesi USA on Instagram. Also me, my Instagram is Jessie Lee Hair Artist. And I would love to hear from you. So if you have any more questions, go ahead, send me a DM and we'll chat. Thank you guys so much. Bye.